It's tea time, positive tea time, and we are spilling all of it right here in this space created by two crazy, fun-loving besties. It's a no-judgment zone for sharing stories of hope, faith, love, growth, and most of all, grace and gratitude. So join us as we get ready to share some positivity and get a fresh perspective on life.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Spillin Positivity. And of course, we have a very special guest. But before we get into that, we are wonderfully sponsored, as always, by Techly Tea. We have an array of their wonderful teas here, from the immune support to the boost to the peppermint. All types of teas you can get with Techly Tea. Those which are healthy and those which are there for relaxing. That's right. Natasha, who do we have on the couch with us today?
On the couch with us, I know him as Uncle Mark. Everybody, this is Mark Maynard. Mark is Renaissance man, artist extraordinaire, award-winning artist, from graphics to painting to actor to stage production. I could go on. Missionary, man of God. I mean, his story is a full, wonderful story about life and rebirth, and yes. And I can't wait for you to tell us all about it. Tell us in your own words who you are and how you got to this place of artist.
Well, artist, I dropped out of law school to do art.
Really? Your passion?
Yeah, kind of. Mm-hmm. I have a sister who was the first female. Well, she would have been a solicitor back then, but attorney of law in Barbados. So I was coming up behind that.
Right. Yeah.
And by the time I was 17, 18, I was running track for Barbados.
Right.
I was doing pretty well at school. I mean, I was doing good at school. And so I went and got myself a job at the Barbados Advocate. Because I wanted to do advertising, whatever. I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
And my father said, nah, you're going to study law. I said, cool, I could do that too, probably. And, so I was what they call articled to one of the law offices, still exists. And I was there for a couple of years. And then I went into the first year of law at KFL.
Right.
Okay.
With people like the current, I'm going to age myself, the current president.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Yes.
We were study partners and all.
Sandra Mason, that's right.
Yeah, Dame
Sandra Mason.
Sandra Mason. Yep, and the former Judge Kentish. They were there with me, and I had a summer I met this guy he had left Barbados when he was maybe 12, 13 years old to go to live in the United States, his family. And he came home and saw some drawings I was doing, and he said, you should come to this school I'm at in New York. And I say, yeah, right.
So you were always into art?
Yeah, I used to drop all my books at school. And I started making money doing other people's illustrations in biology for them, right? And so I said, okay, cool, if you think so. Next thing I know, this home exam arrives at my house. I'm reading law books. And I have 6 weeks, so between the studying, I do the exam. And September came and I didn't hear anything, so I assumed there's no way you could get into that school. It's supposed to be one of the best.
It's Pratt Institute, yes.
Art schools in the world. And it was an election year, so all of the mail was delayed because everything was snail mail back then, and they made the election mail priority.
Yeah.
And then I got accepted to school, go to law.
How'd your dad feel about that?
Well, I came home from law school when I got accepted. I came home and I told my dad, well, I think I'm going to go to art school. And he looked at me and he said, so how are you going to eat? And which I understood now, and which kind of colored what I did at art school.
Right.
So I didn't go to art school then and do. First, I went in October and got accustomed to New York.
The life.
Yeah, which is
The weather.
different. I went through the winter first and started school in January, did everything backwards. So I did 102 instead of 101. And
Right.
right. And so that's how I got into art school. But I did art direction as a major
Okay.
with
Okay.
illustration as a minor, which, because my father asked me how I would eat, so I knew that art direction meant you could probably get a job
Right.
Yeah.
in an ad agency, and so that's how I got started. But that was like a blessing in disguise because of doing art direction. Then I came out of art school like knowing a variety of different things that painting would never have been able to touch.
Right.
And so when I was about to leave school, there was a guy called Paul Webster, a Barbadian guy who was a poet and playwright and had gone up to New York too. And I was at an exhibition and he came in and he said to me, "Hi Mark, I've been looking all over for you. I want you to do this set for me for a show. It's on probably off
Broadway.
right? And I'm taking it home next summer, and would you be able to come down and do it for me?" I said, "Well, I'll be there actually." So I didn't remember anything more about him. I come home and getting into my little act down here and designing stuff and working graphics and all that. And then a guy turns up at my house with all this stuff and he says, "Well, Paul Webster sent this stuff for the show's coming next month and we need you to put together this stuff." I said, "Okay, well, at least I can paint it. I know I can do that." And it's kind of built already in increments, right? And I'm painting it, and then we switched to Commermere School for the show. And I'm there painting, and this young guy turns up and says, "Earl Warner sent me to help you." Now that sounds cool now, right?
Right.
My answer to him was, "Who's Earl Warner?"
Can't say that now.
Right, because I wasn't living here. And then he explained to me, and I remembered, like, I came home one summer, and there were these two guys on stage with a tree stump, and they were doing amazing stuff. So he turned out to be Earl Warner, and the guy talking to me turned out to be Juan Dorsey Boyce.
Wow.
Production,
Okay.
So
right? And so we worked together for years. But on that show, they brought the whole cast down. It was OTT. It was like everybody was triple threat.
right, yeah. Sing, dance, and that.
Right.
Yeah. And so I'm painting and everything, and I look at Dorsey Boyce and I say, "So how are we going to get it to stand on stage?" He said, "Don't worry about it. We do the old Elizabethan method." I say, "Yeah, cool. We do the old Elizabethan method. I have a clue."
Right.
Anyway, we put it all together. You just put some nails or screws in the back, angle them, and you get some rope and you lace them together. Boom, stage. But before that happened, I passed out because I didn't know you were supposed to eat
And
drink
work. Oh,
and
wow.
work, right?
It's a triple threat too.
Yes,
Those three things you have to do.
definitely.
Eat, work and work.
Yeah, and I'm
train.
I'm there. Next thing I know, a whole bunch of people are over me. First person I see is Rachel Springer, of course, because that's where my mind works.
Right.
And I'm looking at her, but I'm seeing her aura.
Oh, wow.
Right? It's like
Okay.
these colors coming off of her and thing. And then this doctor turns up who is Cynthia Wilson's husband,
Right.
who was the doctor. And so they give me, yellow juicy. Make sure I get some sugar in my system. And then I go see him the next day and I get into to taking care of myself, vitamins and so on. You know, I thought I was doing all right, but obviously I wasn't.
Okay. So how did that change? How did you get to that point where you weren't taking care of yourself or going down a wrong road, I should say?
Oh, well, that started before I left Barbados.
Really?
Yeah, started like with intermittent smoking ganja, intermittent. And we met this guy, right, a genius, old friend of mine now passed, who was a doctor. He at the hospital. He actually he wasn't a surgeon yet because in the middle of all that we were in law and he was he left and went to university that in Scotland. Can't remember.
Okay.
Can't remember. And topped the class. And they didn't let him graduate because he had like a huge afro. And so he had to cut his hair, do the class. Topped the class again, came up. But we used to hang out at his house. And he was Jamaican. And he would get a shipment every Friday evening.
Wow.
And we would try to get rid of it.
You just try to smoke all of it. Oh, wow. Okay.
And so that's how it started. And then New York. It was like New York,
Yeah. Was it just marijuana or did it lead to other things?
No, it was like New York. Then it was marijuana. So we snort coke. Opium.
Wow.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
Yeah, well. Alcohol as well?
Oh no, I was never a drinker. I was a stonehead. I was never into alcohol because I used to run track. So
Right, yes,
I never got into alcohol, right? But then I came back home. When I came back home, there were like 2 really critical years. That would have been maybe 3. 80 and 80, 81. Yeah, maybe 80, 81. When we discovered how to cook
Cocaine.
right? So then it was rocks and flake
Right.
and all that, and what's now known as crack cocaine,
Right.
and that like knocks you up really quick.
Did it take you over?
It took me down to 117 pounds.
Wow.
Depressed, anxiety, trying to decide if to commit myself to the hospital. In fact, I was with an old girlfriend's husband,
Okay.
ex-husband.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And I was like with him. He was a terror. Anyway, he was a drug dealer. He was all kinds of stuff. And we're passing by the hospital. I said, maybe I should go into the hospital or maybe the mental hospital. He said, nah, boy, if you go into that hospital, they're going to send you right to the mental hospital and you will never be the same again. I said, okay, cool. Go home. This time I'm trying to stop doing drugs. I haven't done cocaine for months.
Right.
Or marijuana. I'm actually in withdrawal symptoms, but not knowing it.
Right.
Oh, you were starting to get this feeling.
So I'm getting
Sweats.
Oh, sweats. Sweats came after. But it was like, you go into depression, and I always forget what the phrase is that you call it when you're trying to dry out.
Cold turkey.
No, not cold turkey, withdrawal symptoms.
Right.
And that means depression, that means anxiety, that means your heart races, and you have anxiety attacks, fear comes on you all of a sudden. And so I'm about to move house.
But you were still a functioning drug addict then.
Yeah, I was a functioning.
Right.
I was winning awards. I was winning NIFCA.
Wow.
I was bringing out crop over bands.
Wow.
Yeah, the police knew my crop over band. As soon as it came out of the stadium, all the plainclothes police would jump in it. And but we learned to solve that quite easily. We would just fill what do you call those things that the old ladies used to keep under their beds?
A potty.
Potty, right?
Potty.
Right. We fill that with rum and whiskey and things. As soon as they come into the band, we would just pour it all over them, right?
Oh, wow.
You're in the band, right?
Right.
And so I'm there on a sofa trying to decide what to do with myself. I'm feeling really down. I'm moving. My parents are moving, so they're packing up. And
did they know?
Yeah, and I'll tell you how they know. I'll show you how they knew. So I'm lying there, and it's like we're sitting here, but I'm by myself. And the next thing I know, I get up, and I hear myself telling my mom, "Hey, Mom, Jesus just asked me if I would minister for him." And I'm like, what on earth does that mean, minister? I don't even know those phrases. And she looks at me and she goes, "So you've been smoking again?"
Ooh, some good tea was spilled today. Tune in next week for part 2.